Welcome back to the Fit Family Podcast. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
Today's topic, we are going to be breaking down metabolism. We're also going to be talking a little bit about supplements and in particular creatine. We've had a couple of questions on it this week, so we'll be giving you the lowdown, the facts, the do's, the do-nots, and I guess the relevance to you in your lifestyle if it's going to be of any use, which supplements can be and also cannot be. So you'll know by the end of this podcast if you need to be ordering some creatine monohydrate online. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about metabolism, which is certainly one of the most discussed topics online, but also one of the most poorly understood topics, not just from the people who talk about it as though they know, but also when, if we're speaking to a nutrition client and asking them to kind of let us know what they know, it's often a long ways from what's true. And when you do have an understanding of your metabolism and the four things that make it up, then you're going to have a lot more control and clarity over the actions that are going to maximize your health, but also help change your body composition. So, before we get into the four pillars, your metabolism, as just a general definition, it is the amount of energy that you burn every day. Typically measured in calories. Your metabolism is fluid. It can change. Some days we're more active than others. But over the course of a week, we'll have our average daily metabolism, and that's usually the kind of numbers or guesstimate of energy burn that we work off. But Danielle, what is the first, what makes up the majority of our daily energy burn?
Okay, so that's our basal metabolic rate. So everyone would have heard of BMR. That's what most people say.
Yep.
Probably don't know what it actually stands for, so there you go. And that is for just keeping the lights on, basically. Just our bodily functions if we woke up and did nothing.
Yeah, so the amount of calories that you would burn if you just woke up and scrolled Instagram all day in bed. That is your BMR. And that equates to 50 to 60% of your overall metabolism. So instantly, I think people are surprised by how much that is. But you also have to understand that not everything that happens in our body is voluntary. So there's a lot of autonomous, automatic systems, reactions, thinking, breathing, heartbeat. All of this stuff takes a cost, and it all requires energy from our body to perform. So again, if you are sick, your metabolism doesn't go down to zero. In fact, it is still relatively close to what your normal output might be. So understanding this, and then when you see posts online when it comes to, eating back the energy that you burn from food, or how many Ks do I have to run to burn off a mince pie, or it's always around the holidays when you get those posts, like an Easter bunny or whatever it is, when it's actually you'd burn a significant amount of it just by lying in bed doing nothing. So hopefully what this does,
there you go. A good time to point out, so the difference between individuals' basal metabolic rate.
Yeah, so what can impact that? Yeah, for sure. Well, the obvious one is someone's size. If you are bigger, it takes more energy to then maintain that, in the same way that a Land Cruiser chews up fuel and a Honda Civic doesn't.
Yeah. So when people see what other people are eating, for example, because this, I think, is something that is really, really simple that people just have zero understanding of. So supporting your actual body. So what type of body you are supporting.
Yeah. Oh, for example, so I was watching a YouTube video the other night of a bloke who's a exercise scientist, and he was speaking to a couple of bodybuilders who were chemically enhanced and training in a gym. And he asked one of them, who was a monster of a man, he was about 6'6", and he was huge, and he said, "How many calories you eat in a day?" And he said 6,000 to 7,000.
This is when I nearly passed out.
We were both like, oh my God, so for clarity, for me, as an 85 kilo male who's pretty active, I eat about 2,500 to 3,000 to kind of maintain my output and maintain my weight. So and he's obviously much taller than me. I'm an average size male. Thank you, average sized. and so that individualism for your overall metabolism, but especially your BMR, is super important, because although the principle applies to everyone, the way it, the way it manifests to the individual has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Love it. I was so glad we've got that out, because so that's something that eats me.
That's the first pillar of your BMR, and it's 50 to 60% of your daily metabolism. What's next?
Second, our non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Yeah, which is a really fancy pants way of saying just general movement.
Yeah.
So this is the biggest opportunity for people to boost their metabolism, ramp up their metabolism, stoke their metabolism, whatever fancy words Instagram is using around your metabolism, this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's literally just by moving more.
So often referred to as NEAT. I'm sure a lot of people would have heard that.
Yeah, that acronym.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it is our second highest category, basically, that makes up our metabolism.
Yep.
So, and that's something in our coaching programs.
What percentage is that, quickly, just before you explain?
Roughly about 20.
Yeah, so we've got 50 to 60 on the BMR, and then roughly 20%, slightly more, slightly less, depending on the person. So a large chunk of your daily metabolism is the amount of movement you're doing.
Yeah. And this is something, in our coaching programs, we talk about a lot, don't we?
Oh, when you guys hear us crap on about steps, or you just need to walk more, you need to get on your feet, we're talking directly about this part of your metabolism.
Yeah.
Neat.
And it's something that has fallen away a lot, just given all the pressures we have in our modern lives.
Yeah. So I think I was looking at stats on NEAT a while ago, and these are going to be slightly off because I can't remember it to the top of my head. But since 1980, the amount of people who have gone from working labour jobs to working industrial jobs at a desk has skyrocketed. Clearly, it's the technological age. Lots of people look at screens all day. There's less people on tools. There's less people in factories basically on their feet.
Yeah.
Which is, in turn has also been around the same time that processed foods have really gone up, and the stats on our BMI and levels of metabolic disease since 1990 has climbed massively, and it is of course linked to the amount that we move in conjunction with the amount that we eat. So
like most things we talk about, I think it's really important to zoom out.
Yes, not just look at anything in isolation.
Exactly. So everything we talk about, we always say, do not look at it in isolation, because that will just set you up for absolute failure.
Yeah, the sum of all parts is always going to tell the absolute truth, but in some cases there are areas that we can improve by focusing a little bit more energy on, but it's always going to work in partnership with other areas. The thing with NEAT that you need to understand as well is that it's often we'll hear adults, in their 30s or 40s who will say, when I was younger, I used to have such a high metabolism, as though it's some kind of genetic God-given gift that they had. I was born with a high metabolism, and then, since I turned 30, it's just off a cliff. And it's like, well, what actually happened since you turned 30 is your movement's gone off a cliff. So all of that stuff that we used to do automatically, and if I'm looking at my own life, it was sports trainings almost every day, and then you'd play a game on the weekend, and then you'd go out afterwards, and you'd be on your feet all the time, and it's not stuff that you had to factor into your lifestyle. Yeah,
not only that, if you look at the way our kids move today, it's very different to when we grew up, or even prior to that, because of the introduction of technology.
Yeah.
So our kids move less now, and that's why, again, if you look at the stats, it's quite sad on childhood obesity.
Yeah.
The climb.
Linked. Yeah, it's linked for
incredible.
Sure. Sports participation as well as not as high as it once was, and all of this stuff is linked to our overall metabolic health. But that tends to be the culprit for people gaining weight as they get older, is their output not being as high and their input not reducing as a result of that. So eating the same amount of food or near on as you did when you were 25, but doing 60% of the activity is going to mean that you're now no longer, metabolically sustaining your lifestyle. You're overdoing it in regards to eating.
Yep. Beautiful.
We are going to touch on the specifics of metabolic decline after we run through the categories. But But yeah, it's probably going to hurt a few people's feelings when they hear the actual stats, because it's much more lifestyle based than I think people realize.
Yeah, absolutely. Our next one is probably where people focus most of their attention.
Yep.
Yet it only equates for probably less than 10%.
Yes. Maximum of 10%. Yep.
So that is our exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is our dedicated exercise. So think about your gym session, your run, that is your eat.
Yeah, so think about the amount of time that we invest into the style of training that we're doing to achieve an outcome linked to our body composition. So it's, is weight training the best for fat loss? Is running the best for fat loss? Is HIIT training the best for fat loss? And all of them are roughly the same when it comes to energy burn in the session. It's just the amount of time we invest in something that's going to yield up to 10% improvement. It's just not worth it. You should always choose a training style that you enjoy.
Absolutely, because that makes it, again, sustainable. That consistency piece is just vital.
Start there. As long as you enjoy it, you can then start to maybe tweak it a little bit to, suit the overall performance goal. But if the reason you are going to the gym is to lose weight, then you would be better served, statistically, scientifically speaking, dedicating that extra time to just more general activity.
Yeah, going for a walk.
And if you could put 10,000 steps in a pill, wonder drug, we'd be rich.
Everyone would love it. Yeah,
people
love a pill, Ben.
You should see the podcast studio we'd have if we pilled that. But it's just a massive misunderstanding is the effect that the calories we burn through dedicated exercise and the amount of times we waste analyzing that type of exercise compared to just general movement and then focusing that energy elsewhere.
People are so crippled by it.
And this discussion is under the context of weight loss, but training is obviously awesome, and we're not telling you to ignore training, or we're not telling you to change what you're doing because it's not that important.
We're talking about the effects of training on your metabolism.
The effects of training on your metabolism, that energy output. If you were working a desk job and you wanted to shift your life to lose 50 kilos, become a brickie. Get out in the sun.
Okay, probably not going to happen. Not going to happen, Ben. So that's probably not the great example.
It's it's an aggressive point to make a point. It's just that overall lifestyle is going to matter more.
All right, let's just reword that. So if you are sitting at a desk and wanting to lose 50 kilos, everyone has a lunch break.
Yeah.
Go for a walk every lunch.
Yeah, absolutely. Start to try and accumulate 10 minutes of walking over the course of your day, or 30 to 60 minutes. Don't start looking up TAFE and bricklaying. That was a joke. Before anyone gets back to me with what trades are the best for fat loss, that was a joke.
Oh, gosh.
Moving on.
Okay, our final one is the thermic effect of feeding. Yeah,
so super misunderstood and underutilized is the types of foods that we eat and the tax that our body has for how hard it has to work to break them down. So think of your digestion. Anytime you eat anything, there's a level of energy and processes that has to be completed by the body for you to break down and then get those nutrients to where they want to be. And again, with that P word, or what is it, Dan?
What are you talking about?
The P word.
What P word?
Protein.
Oh, we love protein.
Protein. So
they're over the P word.
For every 100 calories of protein that you eat, 30 of those calories are used in the digestion process, compared to under 5 for fats and carbs. So there's a massive discrepancy there between, just how hard your body has to work to break it down. So obviously then eating more protein, you will burn more energy in that process whilst also keeping yourself full and all those types of things. I believe, like the finance people would call that a bit of an investment, like a little bit of an investment. I'm not much of a finance person myself, but I believe that's a good investment.
I think it's because we did a presentation to people in finance. Now
now I'm trying to come up with relevant analogies.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Well done.
Corporate chameleon, they call me.
Beautiful. And how much of our overall metabolism does that make up?
Exactly the same as exercise, 10%. So there you go. Just by eating food, you are burning as many calories as you are by going into the gym and doing a hard session. Quite humbling, isn't it?
Let's wrap this all up in a bow.
Yeah.
Bang for your buck is your BMR.
Yeah, and neat.
And your NEAT. So
Yes.
your BMR is keeping the lights on, so
Literally doing nothing.
doing nothing. So if you have a body that has more muscle mass on it,
Takes more to then fuel, and keep.
so you're going to have a higher BMR.
Yep.
And your NEAT is, come on guys, it's so easy. I was watching people today and it was stressing me out, waiting for a car park.
Oh, here she goes.
Waiting for a car park.
It was raining.
In front
It was
of the
raining.
pools. No, it wasn't when I pulled up, right? Waiting for a car park in front of the pools when there were so many car parks.
Yeah. Yeah. Using the workout analogy for this, it's like if you're someone who trains really hard, pushes themselves in the gym, and then struggles to get motivated to go for a walk, or who spends the rest of their day kind of lounging around, I have my hand raised, this was me, then yeah, you get a dog. Start walking that thing, walk around the block, walk where you can, you get off the train station early, walk the extra stops, you get in a minimum of 8 to 10,000 steps. 8,000, I'm struggling with 1,000, is going to work really well. Or if you're much lower than that and that seems way too high a jump, just go for 20% more than you're currently doing.
Yeah. Another thing, guys, the stairs. Take the stairs. It's one of my favourite things. Our kids get excited if they get to use the lift.
They get shitty when we make them take the stairs, is what they do.
So I'm always like, come on, we've got muscles, we take the stairs. Lifts are for people that need it. So little things like that. If you think about it, if you take the stairs every time compared to the lift every time,
Just
these are all, oh my goodness, that compounding effect. Listen to us, finance. So just building. That is where you're going to get bang for your buck.
Yes, movement. So to break it down even more, 80% of your total metabolism has got nothing to do with the gym.
Yes.
90%. If you take in eating. So focus on that lifestyle piece, which is, that's been massive for nutrition clients of ours who have wanted to, see the effects of their training on their body composition, and they train, 2 to 3 hours a week. And then what else can I do? There is so much that you can do to stimulate results in any direction that you'd like based on your overall lifestyle. It can be a little bit overwhelming. Like there's so much to do. Where do I start? Start with walking. If you want to boost your metabolism, start with walking.
Yep.
Should we talk about metabolism as we age?
Oh, yes, let's do that.
Yes.
So it does decline. Everybody is correct.
Yes.
It definitely does decline, but let's run through the actual stats of how much it declines.
So from 25 years old, your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, that's the one that takes up 50 to 60% of your daily burns. So that, that energy burn just from lying in bed doing nothing, decreases by 2 to 4% every decade. Now that is probably a lot less than what most people thought. 2 to 4%, and it's negated by, so it's even less than if you regularly exercise, eat high protein foods, get your sleep, look after yourself. So all those good habits that you might be trying to implement in your lifestyle as it stands now or are currently doing, that's what's going to help minimize that effect.
Yes.
So it really isn't as much as I think most people think, and certainly much more controllable. It's not, it's not inevitable that your metabolism is going to fall off a cliff.
No, so it does go down slightly, but like you said, there's things we can do that increase our basal metabolic rate.
Yes.
Okay, but it's what happens in conjunction with, so that compounding effect of, okay, it does go down slightly and I'm moving way less, that is what has the greatest impact. Yeah. And that's what people say, oh, as I get older. Well, no, it's what you said earlier. What are you not doing now that you were previously doing?
Now, if you're looking at your lifestyle at the moment and it's like, yeah, but I may not have the opportunity to spend outside more, or I'm really hard pressed for time, either in the short term or it's chronic, then, if you're trying to regulate your, energy out, energy in, guys, you can absolutely control your intake and then not see the effects necessarily of a slowing metabolism. You don't have to eat the same amount as you did when you were 25, when you were 45. You just need to adjust. You need to adjust your intake as well. So as we age, we do steadily need less nutrients as there's not as much of us to sustain. That's a reality of getting older. So, and if you feel that it's going to affect maybe your appetite, or it's going to be something that's really, really difficult, you can certainly change the composition of your diet to make those effects less felt. But also, if your metabolism isn't as high, then it often regulates your appetite as well. You're not going to be constantly hungry if you're expending less energy. You're not going to get those signals from your brain.
The problem is we don't trust them anymore.
Yes, but you also have to have a level of awareness around
what
that number roughly is, or where you currently sit. And that, that obviously takes a little bit of investigation and practice, but you can get there. Absolutely. You can become much more in tune with your senses and what your body needs. But same with everything in your health, it's rarely going to happen by accident. You do need to dedicate some time and effort into that, and improving your ability to kind of read the signs.
Yeah, I think we get caught up in doing the same thing. So I was actually having a chat to one of the mums at swimming last night. People still wanting to look like they did in their 20s. It's like,
preach it, sister. Oh, me, I do.
Why? Still doing, you can't do that.
No.
We need to adapt. As we go through life, we need to adapt, and we need to change our behaviours to reflect that. So like you were saying before, people saying they don't have the time to do the same activity. Okay, so what do you have the time to do? We're always having conversations, and people are always giving us information about what they can't do. And my first question back to them is, what can you do now?
Yeah, and that's quite a reductive way of thinking, because we lose control. Whereas, if you want to feel positive in your body, and you want to feel positive in your environment, and have a generally good proactive outlook on life, then controlling what you can control and getting excited about that and being progressive is going to unlock doors.
Oh, absolutely. It makes me so happy. You've just made me smile.
I've been watching a lot of Ted Lasso, so I'm feeling really sort of just really embracing the Lasso way. Yeah.
Always, 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 always.
I believe
in everything, both fitness and nutrition, ask yourself, what can you do? Yeah. And that is a really good starting point.
And it's not to say that it's always going to be easy. Of course it's not. Anytime you experience a little setback, or you get knocked off your routine, and it isn't your fault. You've got a little injury, or you've got a busy time at work. It's not to say that it's not going to be easy, because it's not. I really struggle with that, but it can be done. Yeah, and it doesn't need to just constantly derail you or have you feeling helpless in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we move on to... First, should we just kind of do a little bit of an intro into supplements in general, and then possibly move on to...
Happy with metabolism? We've locked that up?
I think so, yeah.
Yes. If you do have any more questions about metabolism, or if we've skipped a part of it that you wanted more information on, then guys, please reach out anytime. We are nerds, and we are happy to talk about it. Often too much, to the point where you'll be like, all right, we get it, thank you. All right, so... supplements.
Supplements in general first.
Yes, so it's important to frame any discussion around a supplement by just quickly defining what a supplement is and how important they are.
I'm actually going to Google supplement definition, because I love a definition.
We all, me especially, I get excited because I'm a training fitness nerd about little things that can improve your performance.
Absolutely. You just nailed it.
Key thing being little things. So
things.
Yes. Have you got a definition?
Yes, I've got it. I do have a definition.
Yeah.
A thing added to something else in order to complete or enhance it.
Yes.
Enhance.
Yeah, complete as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the same way that we were talking about, how little targeted exercise impacts your metabolism, is the same lens that we should view how little supplements will improve your overall diet. If everything is dialed in and you are consistent 95% of the time, then absolutely a supplement is going to help. Specifically a performance supplement. So that's not necessarily applicable to all supplements, but a performance supplement then you definitely need to be making sure you are eating the right amount of food, getting your micronutrients in with the fruit and vegetables, making sure you're getting your protein in, making sure you're hitting, your carbohydrate intake, you setting the platform for that supplement to then be the cherry on top.
To then enhance it, spot on.
To then enhance your performance.
So if you're not eating enough food, if you're not eating enough protein, don't worry about.
Especially when a lot of the stuff that we supplement our diets with are in the practice of getting those nutrients in. So, for example, we're going to talk about creatine today, but if you are eating red meat in your diet, the odds are that you are getting enough of it through that.
Yes.
Not always the case, of course. We've got plant-based clients, we've got people who don't necessarily love steak and they'd prefer white meat, but it's not going.
By the way, it still does have creatine, white meat.
Yes, it does, but
not as much.
Yeah, I'm just saying red meat because that has the highest concentrations of creatine in it. But before we get into the nutritional aspect, creatine is a supplement that's long been linked to strength training. So I'm going to try and keep it really nuts and bolts, but ATP-PC is the energy substrate in our body that we use for power maximal contractions in our muscles.
Yep.
So it's stored in our muscles, and then when we are doing stuff that's really quite intense, we use it. Here's the thing, we don't store that much of it and it runs out really quickly, which is why we can't sprint indefinitely.
Yep.
So, after 10 seconds, our body's out. It's done. Now, creatine is stored in our muscles and it basically allows us to just do a little bit more of that maximal contraction. So if you want to squeeze out a couple more reps, if you're trying to recover nice and quickly by, replenishing those ATP-PC stores in your muscles, creatine's terrific for that. Now, there's lots of recent studies as well that can show it really helps with endurance as well. In regards to recovery and it actually has
lots of research for recovery,
lots of the benefits beyond just that contraction, but that's what it was originally used for. And as we've studied it more, it's one of the most studied supplements on the planet. The benefits have been linked to pretty much general health, so cognitive ability, to your brain, your ability to recover, which then impacts your sleep. So it really is quite a powerful supplement for general health and wellness. But the doses are the things that people are starting to study now. So general recommendation for creatine for training is 3 to 5 grams every day. The cognitive benefits have been linked to much more than that, but it's not concrete at this stage. So 3 to 5 grams per day, if you are interested in taking it and you're feeling really good in the other areas of your diet, is a great starting point. And it's just an easy one to add to the routine.
Yeah, I agree, because people often get caught up. So in our members group, Ben posted a video explaining what creatine was and its benefits, and we had multiple people kind of come at us and be like, "Oh my goodness, why haven't you given me this?"
It's a miracle drug.
People are really quick to go,
I haven't got there because I don't have creatine. And that's not the case. Creatine is not going to replace really, high effort training and good nutrition and sleep. But again, it's just the sprinkles on top of a chocolate cake. Yeah. If you like sprinkles.
Yeah. I use the saying, it's like putting the cart before the horse, and people are like, what? So don't even think about creatine.
Are you telling me that people didn't understand the saying, putting the cart before the horse?
Yeah.
Weird.
So
if that's you, get yourself together.
So our point being, you need to nail everything else, and it's the same as any other supplement. Supplements are there for people who require it. So for example, we're obviously talking really general here, but there are conditions. And obviously, if you go to the doctor and you're low in
iron
something,
supplementation.
A lot of people have to supplement iron for various reasons.
Zinc, vitamin D.
Exactly. That is a different story.
General health.
We're talking general health right now, and definitely look at your overall nutrition and recovery practices before you consider supplementing for that small enhancement.
I think to tie a bow on it, the reason why you are still on the journey towards a health and fitness goal is not because you're not taking creatine at this stage. Like, it may help, and that would be individual to the person. It's a terrific supplement as far as supplements go, but supplements will only do so much to your progress if you're not training quite hard, eating really well, and sleeping enough. Yep. Those are the three that are always going to be the biggest levers that you can pull in regards to your fitness and performance, for sure.
Also, I always tell people with supplements, nature is pretty amazing.
I thought you were about to say nature is healing. So, yeah.
Well, it is that too, but it is pretty amazing. And we don't actually realise the foods we eat contain certain vitamins and minerals together as like a mix. Yeah. Right? To help absorption and that kind of thing. So when you isolate supplementation, it's a little bit different to when you eat it naturally through foods.
Yeah, it certainly can sometimes not be as effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of examples of that. What's the iron and
vitamin C.
Yep.
Oh, so obviously we've learnt things along the way, and that's why you do see supplements
combined.
In your when you go and look at the vitamins at Chemist Warehouse, you'll often see things grouped together. There is a reason why.
It's like a +1. Yeah. All good. Anything else you want to touch on?
I was just thinking the questions that came around that.
Yeah.
One was declining with age. I know we covered that one.
Metabolism.
We did cover that.
Yeah.
How to healthily boost. Yes, we spoke to that.
Yeah. Walking.
Yeah.
Walking and eating protein is how to healthily boost your metabolism.
Oh, one last one. Does hormones have any effect on your metabolism?
Yes, absolutely.
If so, what?
Well, optimal hormone levels will give your body like the best possible metabolism results, as in everything's functioning really well, and then you'll be kind of at the peak metabolic performance a body could possibly be at. Suboptimal hormones, and it's far too individual to kind of break down what they may be on a podcast for sure, could impact your body's ability to burn energy as efficiently as possible. So yeah, absolutely. Hormones do play a big impact. Actually, let me give you an example. So in a lady's menstrual cycle, around the period of actually getting your period, your
lead up to
metabolic rate can increase.
Correct.
So yes, the hormones definitely do impact your metabolism, and for men, metabolic health is linked to testosterone production as well. So if you are lowering testosterone, your metabolism can be a little bit lower. Though if you are lowering testosterone, it's linked to lower energy as well, which can mean that you're less inclined to go do exercise, to go for a walk, to do all that stuff that we can control to then boost your metabolism over the course of the day. So a lot of the stuff is linked to kind of the actual behaviors and practice, and not always linked to the BMR or those aspects of your metabolism that we're not necessarily in a great amount of control of.
Yeah. So short answer, yes, very individual. Also, probably a common one that a lot of people have probably heard of is when people say they have issues with their thyroids and they're medicated.
Massive, yeah.
So they have a very big impact on your metabolism.
Diseases like PCOS and endometriosis for females do have a large impact on your metabolism, though the scale of that impact is really individual. Yeah, so we're certainly not going to diagnose anyone on a podcast. I was about to say, and if you do have more questions, then we can answer them as best we can. But for stuff that's highly specific like that, you would definitely be best to speak to a doctor.
A professional, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the way we would point you.
Love it.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
All good. Guys, again, if you've got any questions, reach out. And we'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.